Alright, so today we will be discussing the Carrier iView user interface. This is Carrier's web-based user interface for doing DDC and building automation system control. So it is the standard building automation system for Carrier controllers. It does support third-party devices that can be integrated into the system. The iView is a web-based server, so it can be broadcast on a company's intranet, only internally, or the internet. And it runs through a static or dynamic IP address. So depending on what type of security level you need, it can be used internally, so you can only remote in via VPN, or it could be used externally on any normal internet connection. The Carrier iView is a web broadcaster and server for Carrier controllers that do HVAC, but it can also do lighting, power metering, security, and many other things depending on what type of controllers you have. Currently there are two versions of the Carrier iView. One is a CCN iView and one is an open iView. Both of those will be changing in the future, but it is based on the controllers that the iView is actually broadcasting. And we're going to be focusing more on the open because that's the newer product line, but we'll discuss a little bit of both here. So we're going to start with some benefits of the iView. As you see at the top, it says there's an iView Open Standard and Plus. There are two different versions that we will discuss towards the end of the presentation, but just so you're aware, if you hear the difference, they are two different iViews. So some benefits that you have here, you have one single access point based on the web that can interface to all of the controls in a building. All of the controls in a building. That being energy monitoring, security, lighting, or specifically with Carrier HVAC equipment. All of this can be accessed through a PC or a wireless device. And currently the iView only runs through Internet Explorer browser. So you do not need any other software. You have your iView, which is a little server that connects to your internet, and through your Internet Explorer you can access the entire system. It is very simple to install this iView. It is plug and play. You plug the communication bus of the controllers into the iView server. You plug the internet into the iView. You program it so that it knows what IP address to use, and you're pretty much off and running. So just to be clear, this iView server is not actually a controller that has logic built into it. It is really just interfacing to all of the controllers that are controlling HVAC equipment or lighting or energy. It's just reading all of those, giving you access to all of those, and broadcasting that on the internet. Another benefit of this system is it gives you remote troubleshooting. So if you are a contractor, you can actually, if you get a service call, you can pull up the system from your office or from your house and see, hey, I see that the space temperature is a little low. Maybe I need to turn on second stage of heat or something like that. Now, that being said, you get remote troubleshooting. It also has a lot of automatic features that are standard on the iView, which we'll discuss in further slides here. But just for an example, you can do automatic alarming based on certain criteria. You can do automatic trend data, where it stores data that was seen previously, so you can access that for troubleshooting, and a couple other automatic features. And then I guess the final benefit that we have here would be verification of operation. You can actually see if a fan's running, see if the heat is on, see if the cooling is on, and read temperatures as well. Again, it is only an interface. The control logic is actually local on all of the Carrier controllers or third-party devices, but this is just interfacing, allowing you access to see all of them and write to certain set points and schedules. So the iView Open and CCN, all the controllers that are interfaced on the iView come standard with automatically generated graphics. And you can see there's a picture of it looks like a rooftop unit graphic. And that graphic is animated and customizable. So when the fan is on, the fan will actually spin. I just saw a question here real quick. The storage of the trend data is actually on the web server itself, not on a cloud. We do not have any type of cloud storage currently available. It might be something in the future, but That goes back to the different types of iViews. One iView has more storage space on it, so you could do more trend data storage, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Going back to the graphic we have here, as you can see, you have a DX coil and a heating coil on there. Those will actually light up when they are in use. The dampers will actually move. The fan will actually spin. And you can see you have values there for the percentages of the dampers, what's on, what's off, the actual set points, the space temperature. All of the graphics are standard, but they are all customizable, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We provide a lot of standard CAD graphics, but you can adjust and add to any graphics that need changing. So, other than that, I think that pretty much sums it up. We're going to actually look at a live iView after the presentation to see some of these graphics to give you a little overview of what they'll look like, what options they have. So, keep going here. Another benefit, which is very helpful to end users, are these floor plan graphics. Now, these are something that do not come standard, but we can get them for you. You can do them 3D like you see on these. Or you can just do like a 2D outline that you take from a PDF of some kind or a floor plan. But the key portion of these floor plans are these thermodynamic bubbles, which are these green and yellow ovals. I'm trying to outline it here with the cursor. These values actually correlate to different pieces of equipment that are currently serving these locations. So for instance, if you see this conference room on the top graphic here, this would be a rooftop unit or a fan coil that's serving that area. That's actually going to give you a live temperature reading of what that space temperature is sensing. And not only that, the color of the oval is going to correlate to that space temperature. So if you look on the left-hand side of these graphics here, there's a little scale for going red, orange, yellow, green, light blue, blue, and red again. That is a scale of the space temperature color versus the set points. So when you are close to set points or in between the set points, you will be reading a green color, which would be ideal. And then as you start to warm up, you would actually turn yellow, orange, and then red for alarm if you're getting too hot. And then in the opposite direction, you would go light blue, blue, and then red again if it was going too hot. So this is a great feature that you can actually basically diagnose the health of your building with just one view. You can see everything that's going on, see the different colors. And again, these are customizable. It's whatever you need on there. So those thermodynamic bubbles are very useful for the end users here. So keep going. If you saw before, I mentioned the color scheme that we have. This is the same with how we can adjust our set points. So like I mentioned, the green is ideal, light blue, yellow is a little bit above ideal, and then orange and then red. You can actually customize the distances of these colors. So you can customize how long you want it to be in light blue, how long you want it to be in dark blue. It's all adjustable, but it's just a little, again, it's mostly for end users to be able to diagnose what's going on in the building at the specific time. Keep going here. Trending. Trending, we mentioned, is something that is standard on every iView. We'll discuss this a little bit more, but on the iView standard, you can trend up to 7 days in the past, and then on the plus you can do, I believe it's up to 32, but that depends on how many points you're trending. There are a lot of points on most of carrier controllers that are standardly trended. However, a lot of them need to be enabled so that you need to tell it, hey, I want to trend space temperature for example, or supply air temperature. You can trend it 2 different ways. You can trend based on a time. So let's say I want to take the value reading every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, or you can actually trend based on the change of value. So for instance, if you're trending the space temperature, you might want to try to trend it based on a time because that value will be changing a lot. So you'd say, hey, every hour I want to read the space temperature, or every hour I want to read the outdoor air temperature. For something like a status switch, like a fan status, where you just have 2 different modes, either on or off, then you would want to trend it based on change of value. That way you're not trying to store more data than you need to be storing, so that will free up extra points so that you can store more information. All of the storage is technically limited to the size and storage limit of the iView. So if you're trending a lot of points all on for instance, time, and you're doing it every 30 seconds, then you're not going to be able to trend as many points as you could if you were doing it with a change of value for certain points. So these are all very easily configurable trends. We can show you how to do that at the end, but it's really just a matter of checking a box and saying what type of trending you want to do. And this is a great feature for troubleshooting for any contractor. I mean, if you have a space temperature, you get a service call saying that the customer is cold, and you go out and look to see hey, what my space temperature was, what my unit mode was in, if it was in cooling, if it was in heating, what my supplier temperature was for the past week. It'll help you diagnose what could potentially be wrong. Maybe the economizer damper position was open too much and you're bringing in too much cold outdoor air. Maybe the heating relay was kicking on, but the heat wasn't kicking on. So it's a great way to give you some troubleshooting problems without you troubleshooting techniques without having to physically test everything, and will really point you in the right direction. So all of this trend data can be copied and exported into Excel. So if you want to put together your own graphs or reports, it is a nice feature for doing that. So, and then again, you can trend multiple points. You can actually view multiple graphs at the same time so that you can see what's going on. You can see multiple graphs on the same graph, but also multiple graphs at the same time. So, scheduling. Scheduling is a very nice feature of the iView. It is graphical scheduling. You select days, you select times of occupancy and unoccupancy. You can also schedule, by days, you can schedule by specific dates. You can schedule by something called a wild card, which would be something like every other Tuesday I want the unit to be occupied from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. There are a lot of different options of how you can schedule. It's very easy to select schedules, and we'll go over when we get to the iView I'll show you some ways of how to schedule. It's really just pointing and clicking, all question and answer based. One of the important features of the scheduling on the iView is you can do group scheduling. So you can put one schedule in and you can actually make that control 5 up to unlimited number of pieces of equipment on a building. So for instance, let's say you want half the building to run on one schedule and the other half to run on another. Rather than having to enter in schedules for each piece of equipment, you can just put 2 schedules together and then group all of the controllers or pieces of equipment you want on those schedules within each one. It makes it a lot easier, especially if you have to enter a lot of holidays on specific dates for each schedule. It's a very nice feature, making it very easy for the end user to change settings of occupancy. So, alarming. I mentioned before one of the automatic features of the iView is automatic alarming. This is something that all the iViews do standard, and you can select which alarms you want to be sent and to whom you want them to be sent. So, let's say for instance you want to, as a contractor, you want to send all of the critical alarms. So for instance, if the space temperature gets too high or if a fan status is reading off when it should be on, you can send all those to your email address, for instance, and then you can send only a couple alarms to the end user. For instance, if there is a service alarm where you need to, a better idea would be if there's a fire shutdown alarm or a smoke detector that's gone off, critical alarms that are an immediate threat or danger, those would be ones that you would want to know to the end user. But all of the alarming is customizable. You can choose which alarms go to whom, and there are different methods of alarm alerts. So you can actually have one which would be a pop-up on a screen. So if you were connected to the iView on your computer, whenever there was an alarm, a dialog box on Internet Explorer would pop up and show you this controller is an alarm, this value is reading incorrectly, something along those lines. You can do it through email, which is probably the best version now, especially now that we all have email on our phones. And then you can also do it on cell phones via text message. And one other thing to note is that all of the alarms, you can actually customize what they specifically say. So for instance, if you are the contractor and you have an alarm that's sending to the end user, you don't have to specifically have it say what exactly is wrong. You can just say, hey, this is an alarm, please contact so-and-so, or anything that you would like to type in that you would want your customer to see. So everything's customizable. You can select it however you want. It's a pretty nice feature. You can do multiple emails and multiple phones at the same time. So it's a very nice feature, very good for monitoring your building, making sure nothing gets out of whack. So, reporting. Reporting is another nice feature similar to trending, where the iView is actually storing information, and you can set up specific reports based on the information it has in it. So you can do a report that would generate based on all of the alarms that have occurred within the past week or so. You can do a report that will compare different values of pieces of equipment for each, for instance, the space temperatures versus the set points. If you want to know which pieces of equipment were, how far they were away from set point for the longest amount of time, something like that, to diagnose which units are working a little bit better than others. You can also do a report, like I mentioned, of the trends where you can export them into Excel. But you can also do reports where you're actually reporting who was logged into the iView whenever you want. So for instance, if something occurs on the iView at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, you can actually run a report and see who was logged into the iView at that time. So you can see who could have possibly messed with something or screwed something up, which is a nice feature to have. And then if you have the iView Plus, which is the higher, the more advanced version of the iView, you can actually do custom reporting that can be used with web services like XML or SOAP to retrieve data from the iView and store it into one of your reporting or storage systems. So, another nice feature. Like I mentioned before, all of the controllers that Carrier has for their iView come standard with animated graphics. Now that being said, all of the graphics are customizable, and you can add and create all of your own graphics for any custom programs that you make. So for instance, we're looking at a hot water system graphic that was created here. You can see you've got a boiler, 2 pumps, and a valve. All of this is not a standard graphic, but this is something that could be provided from, we have a software called Application Builder that would create a program and a graphic for this specific application. But this is another custom graphic that you can adjust. You can put your name on, you can put a phone number to call, you can basically do whatever you need to do. One of the important things on here, going to this next page. Sorry, I skipped something here. All of these graphics can be animated, and you can use any GIF file, GIF file that is animated can be used within iView on a graphics page. So if you want to put an animated logo of your company on there, you can throw one of those on there just to show them free advertising, I guess. So on the next page here, we actually have a database of icons and graphics that are standard from Carrier. So if you look at all of these graphics, these little boilers, storage tanks, unit heaters, these are all standard graphics that we provide with every iView so that you can make your own full iView graphics. And there's a whole database of them. I think there's over 200 different pieces of equipment on there. It's anything from boilers and unit heaters to actual ductwork and piping, arrows, anything you can think of, there's a lot on there. That being said, other than those graphics, you can use any JPEG or GIF file that you can put on there as well in combination with any of these little graphics. So there's a lot you can do, there's a lot you can make to customize your iView and make it look how your customer wants to see it. So. And we are always available to help you with these graphics. If you need something specific, we can help you out. If you just need some troubleshooting help, we're always here to help you. So, now we're going to go into the difference between the iView Open Standard and the Plus. As you can see, they're very similar. The large difference you can see towards the bottom is going to be third-party integration. The iView standard can only speak with carrier native controllers, okay? You cannot do any type of third-party devices, any type of third-party backnet can be connected to one of those. In order to do that, you would need an iView Plus. A few other items on there would be the customizable equipment and trend reports, that as well as the XML and SOAP for web services. That's something you cannot get from the iView standard. And then you also have tenant billing, which is a feature that you can do with the iView Plus. And then what I mentioned before with trend data storage, the iView standard comes with standard up to 7 days for each point. The iView Plus can go up to 62 days, so it has more storage space in order to do that. But the rest of the items and features here are pretty much the same. Both of the iViews are standard backnet communication for the open system. You can do 60 controllers per router or iView. You can do up to 750 controllers for each if you have a router on each one. You get all of your auto-generated graphics. You can do customizable graphics, scheduling, all of that. So, two different options. There will be some changes coming out next year on this, but currently this is the product offering that we have here. So, just a couple takeaways, I guess, overall of the iView itself. And we're, again, going to see a live demo of one here, so we're going to actually get into the nit and grit of it. But this is a huge, huge resource for increasing the value of your control system. Giving the end user access, and not the access through just the coded programs, but actual visual access that they can see the important things like graphics and temperatures. Everything they would need to know is what really we can provide with one of these iViews. Again, we can tie in ancillary equipment. You can do security, energy, lighting, not just carrier HVAC. And then I guess the biggest thing is being able to integrate an entire building onto the iView and giving them one local access point to view the entire system and to view it in a very simple way so that they can see exactly what they need to see is the biggest takeaway. So here's just a list of my contact information and all of the people in the carrier or the TEC controls department. I would probably be your main contact for anyone in the Chicagoland area. My cell phone number's on there, email, whatever's easier. But I would be able to help with pricing, support, troubleshooting, commissioning, programming, graphics, whatever you need. We also have a couple of backups. We have 2 men located in Milwaukee who are available over the phone for all of you in Chicago or anyone who is in the Milwaukee territory. Those would be your first contacts would be Fred Arnold and Dan Olivier. They've both been dealing with carrier controls for 25 plus years here. So they're excellent resources if you have a question concerning anything with controls, and they are always available to help. And then we also have Sam Cosgrove, who is my backup in Chicago, who is still in the learning process, but he is also a resource. If you can't get a hold of me, he can get a hold of me if he doesn't know the answer. So we are definitely here to support you guys and help you with any questions you have. If you want to get into some more detailed aspects of the iView or any type of carrier control system, we're glad to help. Glad to come out and meet you guys and go through whatever you need. So if hopefully you guys had a chance to write this down, we will be posting this website and webinar on TEC's training website, so you'll have access there, and then I can email it to any of you who need it just as a reference here. So now we're going to actually go to the live demo site here. So Carrier offers a live demo site to anyone, whoever wants to see it, just to go look at it and see what they can offer. The website for it is www.iviewdemo.com, and then when you go to that screen, which I'll show you here in a minute, it'll prompt you for a username. The username is demo user, one word, all lowercase, and then you do not enter a password, and you hit login and you will get access. So with that, we are going to go to the website now. Let me just switch over here real quick. Again, currently you have to use Internet Explorer in order to access the iView. That will be changing in the future, but that is the only option. So if I go to demo.com. Now, I mentioned at the very beginning there are two different types of iView. There is a CCN iView and an open iView. The CCN iView it is compatible with Carrier CCN controllers, and CCN is a proprietary language of Carrier that can only communicate Carrier controllers with Carrier controllers. No one else can speak it, and it is native only to Carrier. Now, third-party devices can be integrated into that system, but no other third party can communicate with the iView CCN. Okay. Now, the iView Open was the product line that we just discussed, and that is a native BACnet MSTP communication between all of the controllers. So the Open product line can integrate and speak to any third-party Open controller, but it can also be read by any third party that can speak BACnet MSTP. So that's the one we're going to look at. They're very similar in look. You can look at both of them. Again, you just have very similar graphics. It's just a matter of the controllers themselves that are different between them. So I went to iViewDemo.com, clicked on iView Open, and now I will type in demo user, no password, and we will log in here. This will always come up just a browser pop-up block. You want to allow the browsers because there are certain boxes that actually require pop-ups to access the system here. So give it a minute for it to load here. Okay, so the general layout, as you can see, we got a floor plan graphic here. This is one of Carrier's demo sites. But you can see they actually did a three-piece floor plan for the first floor, second floor, and rooftop. You can see the thermodynamic bubbles. So we got a couple in red here, one in orange, a couple in green. Again, green is good, red and orange are bad. So one thing to note is all of these thermodynamic bubbles are actually clickable. And if you click on one of these bubbles, it will take you to the piece of equipment that is representative of that bubble. So I just clicked on that rooftop unit. Now it's taken me to this this graphic of a rooftop unit. And you can see my fans are spinning because they're on. I've got my damper open 75%. I've got my DX capacities at 69. I've got all the temperature readings that I'll need. I've got space temperature, supply air, outdoor air, building static. There's a number of features that you can see here that are all, this is all in a standard program, so they didn't need to add anything. This was all automatically generated here. The general layout of the iView is all through an expandable tree on the left-hand side. So they organized their system, as you can see, based on, I believe it's floor. So if we look back here, we've got the roof, we've got the ABC core, and then we've got the Acme Inc. portion. So I have my whole graphic here. Again, I didn't mention this, but you can do multiple floor plan graphics based on how you want to lay out the system. So I have my whole system here. If I want to click on the Acme Inc. portion, now I go directly to that floor, and I can actually see the temperatures in the different spaces here. So it's a nice little feature to organize it and help the end user really see what's going on and make it easy for them. I can go to a different portion here for the ABC core. Again, it looks like we're a little hot and cold in these two areas, but another access point that they can view the system and get a general health diagnosis of what's going on in the building here. So if I expand any of these portions on the left, I will see the controllers that are specifically located within this system. So right now I have 4 different probably zone controllers, I would think, for each of these spaces. Now I have them actually where I can locally access them rather than having to click on the bubble. So if I want to go to engineering where it's 58, I would select this, and now I have a VAV zone controller. It looks like it's a fan-powered zone controller. As you can see, I'm requiring heat in this space, but I'm not getting it. I'm not sure why. Again, this is a demo site. It is not actually serving anything really. This is just in a building in Syracuse, New York. So not anything you really worry about, but just a view of a graphic. If we go to sales, we'll see another VAV controller here. This one has a hot water coil in it. Again, all of these graphics are all auto-generated. So if I went into my VAV controller and I selected, hey, I have a hot water coil, I have a fan-powered box, it will actually automatically generate these graphics, and they're all live-action graphics giving you live values, live readings. So very easy to use, a lot of information that's being provided here. So look at a couple more graphics that we have here. It looks like we have a water source heat pump system, a water-to-water water source heat pump. I don't think that one's working very well. It doesn't look like it has a good graphics. So let's go to see if we can get a chiller here. Oh, I don't think they're going to let me get a chiller. Let's see if we can click on this. Okay. So now we have a 30 HXA chiller. You can see that you've got your chilled water supply and return values. That's pretty much what you need to know, and then it's got your capacity for what stages of what circuits are on, what circuits are off, what your set points are. All of the actual programming for all of the controllers are on the Properties tab over here. So you have your graphics that you can view that you would want the end user to be doing the majority of their work on. And then the rest of the portion that you would be worried about would be in the Properties tab, where we can see the different configurations of the unit. We have a status tab, some maintenance tabs and configurations to how we want to set up the unit specifically. So we can get into a little bit more of this on a case-by-case basis, but all of these tables of data are within the installation manuals of each controller. They're all automatically generated for you. You would just go through and configure the units or look at the statuses and maintenance based on what you needed to do here. So here's just another view of a chiller. And I guess that about does it for the graphics here. If we want to look at scheduling, we have a tab on the top where it says scheduling. We can actually go and it will show you locally what the schedule is for the piece of equipment that you're on. So I'm on the 30 RAP OctaSnap chiller. You can see right now it looks like it's scheduled occupied Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Right now I don't have access because this is a carrier iView, but in order to configure a schedule here, you would select add for the schedule, and then you could just check each box for, they'd have 6-7 boxes for every day of the week, and you can just check each box and set what time you want for each day of the week. And then even more detailed, you can select time periods for a specific date or a reoccurring date, or again, like I said, a wild card for every other Tuesday. There's a lot of different options on the scheduling. It's a very nice feature. Alarming, you can actually click this tab, or this little exclamation point will light up in red if you are in alarm. So you can click either one of these. So I'm going to click here, and it should take me to a list of alarms. All of my alarms get stored until I delete them or acknowledge them. So right now you can see there's a bunch of communication alarms, and your alarms get sorted based on if they are critical and need a return to normal, or if they just need to be acknowledged. So for instance, if you lost communication to a controller, you would just need to acknowledge that, maybe troubleshoot it. If there's something like a fan is not functioning when it's supposed to, that will remain an alarm until the fan starts to read again and starts to function properly, so that no one can go through and delete the alarm without you knowing that it's still in alarm. And then real quick, trending. I think it's going to allow me to do this, I hope. But if you click on this trends portion, you can go to any piece of equipment and say for this 30 RP, I want to trend the entering fluid temperature and the leaving fluid temperature. I would click both of them. I would hit view. And I'm hoping that I can get this to go on here. So you can't really see, well, you can actually, but unfortunately I'm not getting good readings, but I can zoom in here and I can see that both of my readings are minus 40 degrees or something. So I'm not getting good readings in this case. Let's try to look at maybe a rooftop unit here. We'll go to rooftop unit 2. And we'll look at the space temperature, the supply temperature, and the fan status. See if we get some different value readings here. So as you can see, we've got our supply and fan status was on the entire time from 12 p.m. till 12 p.m. For 2 days. My space temperature, it looks like it dropped 2 degrees around here, and my supplier temperature remained the same. So I think someone just actually made a change to this. Again, in real life, you're not going to be reading graphs like this, but all of the graphs you can move forward and back throughout history, so you can see the changes. You can find specific times. You can zoom in and look specifically at spots. It's a pretty nice feature, very, very helpful in troubleshooting. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at these trends and diagnosed problems that took contractors a long time to find out. So a very nice feature. And then with reporting, like we mentioned before, you can do audit logs and specific custom reports. So another nice feature. Other than that, I'll just click on this little exclamation point. This is just going to take me to that alarms tab again for the entire system, just so you guys are aware. But you can print out reports and trends with this print button over here. So if you want to print them to PDF and store them on your computer, or actually print hard copies and say, when your contractor comes out, you can say, hey, this is what was happening. This is the trend I saw. What's wrong with this? So just another view of another option. So other than that, we kind of just wanted to give you a quick, a little overview of what the iView can offer. Again, there's a lot more that can be offered with this product, and it is a great product line. Very helpful for increasing the usefulness and the features of the control system, the carrier control systems that you can put in here. So if you guys have any further questions, you can always contact me. Again, let me put up my, my contact info. And if you can't get a hold of me, you can get a hold of Sam, Dan, or Fred. Other than that, if you guys have any questions, trying to see if we've got any on here. Again, I'm very sorry for the technical difficulties. I've done this a number of times, and for some reason today my microphone on my computer would not work. So I don't know the reason why, but I'm glad we got to go through it. Feel free to shoot me an email or call me at any time. But again, thank you very much for attending, and hopefully we will be in touch. Thank you very much.